Tokyo Game Show 2020 is coming up this weekend, and in the lead up to the event, Capcom of Japan has announced that a little mobile game we have been covering extensively for the last 6 months, Rockman X DiVE, is finally coming to Japanese mobile devices, at least in an official capacity. In celebration of the announcement, Capcom of Japan has released a Rockman X DiVE trailer, which, fun fact, as our own MegaQuint pointed out, this trailer footage was definitely recorded with a capture card of all things. You can tell because the video feed looks a lot more greener, and that is the result of capturing directly off a mobile device, and a video containing a few words from series producer Kazuhiro Tsuchiya himself, talking a little bit about the game, albeit it's all in Japanese, given that both videos are available on their Japanese YouTube channel. So no, it doesn't look like there's going to be a global version announced really soon. This right here is probably the Mega Man related announcement we are going to get for Tokyo Game Show, since Capcom has been reviewing a lot of their new projects leading up to the show, and this is no exception. We'll have to keep our eye on TGS to see if anything else comes out of it. While the global version is not happening just yet, releasing Rockman X DiVE in Japan is certainly the first big step towards something like that happening. We also have a new Japanese specific website for Rockman X DiVE. What's more, Capcom Taiwan's own Twitter account, which had been used to deliver information on the game up to this point, has been rebranded as Rockman X DiVE Asia, and this coincides with a brand new Rockman X DiVE Twitter account for the Japanese version that is just called RX DiVE. This plays into Capcom of Japan's intention to handle Rockman X DiVE from the marketing to the game itself completely on their own terms in their own region. Specifically, it is said that this is being handled by the mobile division at Capcom Osaka, who is collaborating with Capcom Taiwan on this release. Now, it's a really great thing and really refreshing that Capcom of Japan is actually acknowledging Rockman X DiVE now. We've known that Kazuhiro Tsuchiya and Keisuke Mizuno had been working with Capcom Taiwan on the game all this time, so Capcom of Japan obviously did have a role in the development of this game, but most of it is handled by Taiwan, and we just saw no mention of it on Capcom of Japan's social media as well as Capcom USA, but the latter makes more sense. Now that the Japanese branch is having a more direct involvement with Rockman X DiVE, the big hope with a lot of us is that hopefully a lot of the quality assurance issues currently plaguing the game will start to become less and less prevalent as the big bosses at Japan step in and set things right. At least that's the big hope, that this collaboration will result in a more stable game overall. Now, I did mention already that Capcom of Japan does want to do their own thing with Rockman X DiVE, which is why they have a separate Twitter account and everything. So you might have an idea as to what I'm going to say next. If we take a look at the Rockman X DiVE website for Japan and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you will find the following words. The user data of Rockman X DiVE distributed from Capcom Taiwan to the Asian region cannot be transferred to this service. What does that mean? It means that Rockman X DiVE is going to be split into two versions essentially. We're going to have the Asian version, which we are playing right now, and starting in October, there will now be a Japanese specific version of Rockman X DiVE that will contain their own accounts, content, and all that good stuff. Players pre-registering for the game in Japan can get some items like boxes, the Triangular Saber, the Muramasa S-Rank Sword, and Zero. And honestly, it's not all too surprising that they're going to keep the Japanese version separate. Like I said, Capcom of Japan does want to do their own thing with this game, and can you blame them really? We have, after all, covered in detail about how Capcom Taiwan has been handling this game up to now. I'm not going to say they're doing the worst job in the world because they are at least listening to what people have to say, but you can just tell from the marketing to the botched English translations to the lack of quality assurance, their management of this game has been quite unprofessional, and it certainly doesn't inspire confidence in this game and the company. Certainly this would not fly in the USA and Japan. And I do believe Capcom of Japan sees that. So they're like, hey, we'll release the game, but give me the keys because I'm gonna do things my way. If we had to speculate a little bit about what this Japanese version is going to have in terms of content, we can see that pretty much all the starting roster from launch is here, but we also see the addition of Iris and Sigma on the website, hinting that they would be available from the get-go or at least close to launch. Looking around at all the different screenshots and video footage as well, tells us that all the game mechanics, features, game modes, and everything in between that was released after launch should be available from the get-go in this Japanese version as well, which of course makes a lot of sense. In a way, I guess you could look at this as sort of a definitive version of the game. You have all the content and improvements from the current Asian version, but you're still starting from scratch. Now, this is actually a common practice in mobile games that we've seen with other titles throughout the years, where a game will release in one region, and then maybe a year or so down the line, they will release the game again in other regions, but essentially start from scratch, with the added content from updates that have come before. This is to allow the players from the other regions to sort of catch up with the game and play on their own terms, without jumping into an existing server where there are foreign players that has everything unlocked. So yeah, expect with this Japanese version that not everything will be available right away, but the underlying improvements will be there. And that ties back into why they're not allowing transfers for your data. Imagine if you could transfer your data, and you couldn't access all of your characters because they hadn't been released in that specific version yet. It would just be really weird and probably not work that well. And I know people are gonna say, well, that sucks, I can't transfer my data to this version. And I guess it does for any Japanese players that were already playing the Asian version, but listen, I have to say this. These two versions are going to be running alongside each other simultaneously. The Asian version of Rockman X DiVE, the one that we're currently playing, is not going away anytime soon. It's still available for you to play, especially for my fellow player-sans that are not from Asia or Japan. If you have no interest in playing that Japanese version, if you have no interest in starting over with your save file, then don't play it then. Stick with the Asian version and be happy with it. By the way, I have to say this too because I get this question literally every day. No, there's no news on Rockman X DiVE having a global version yet. However, it is so easy to just go to Capcom Taiwan's official website. Heck, I'll even have it in the description below. You can download the game yourself on your Android phone through the APK download, or you can take that APK, download BlueStacks on your computer, and play it that way. Now, if you're on Apple iOS, you're gonna have to jump through some more hoops to create a Taiwan account to actually get the game. So for those people, I recommend just sticking to BlueStacks. But yeah, if you really want to play this game, there's nothing stopping you. The Asian version even has English support, which is how we've been doing all our videos up to this point. We currently don't know if the Japanese version would have English support though. It might just be in that language. So I'll tell you, I personally don't have any interest in playing the Japanese version, since they're basically going to be falling behind the Asian version. So when this comes out, and even in the event that we do get an English version, that global version is probably going to be the same deal as the Japanese version, where they're going to start from scratch and slowly catch up to the Asian version. So for that reason, my main account is always going to be on the Asian version. I have no intention of stopping playing that account. 1, because I can't read Japanese, and 2, I put so much into the account already, so why get rid of it, right? And I encourage you guys to do the same if you've been playing Rockman X DiVE already. Just stick with your current account and you'll be fine. And those of you guys out there saying, well hey, I don't really want to play an Asian version of this game. I want to wait until Rockman X DiVE comes out in my territory, in my region. And you know what? That's totally fine. You do you. In fact, that's probably a good idea. Go ahead and wait for that regional version to come out then. Nothing is stopping you from doing what you want, including if you want to play the game right now. I know that I'm gonna keep getting the questions anyways, but I hope that clears things up for some people. So in conclusion, expect a more scaled back Japanese version that's entirely separate from the current Asian version that it's now branded as. It will catch up eventually, but they're going to take things slow for a little bit just to get everyone in Japan up to speed. And I've also gotten questions about what will happen with the limited banners and festivals and events and all that. And to be honest, I entirely expect the overall content to be the same between both of these versions. After all, holidays like White Day and the current Fireworks Festival are actually holidays that are already observed in Japan. In fact, it's really more of their thing anyways. So I fully expect White Day Alien Cinnamon, Festive Zero, the summer characters and all that to be in the Japanese version as well at some point. It's really only a matter of when. Also, if you really think that all the classic Zero ZX characters are going to be cut from the Japanese version, oh, you're just kidding yourself. Rockman X DiVE really is a big celebration of all the Mega Man series, not just X. Heck, it stopped being an X-only game a long time ago, not even that long after launch. Like I said, it's more like Cross Dive than X Dive. That pretty much does it for today's Rockman X DiVE update though. I know that this has turned out to be more like a rant than actual news, but really all you need to know is that the game is coming to Japan now. And I just wanted to come in and sort of clear up the air around this announcement because I know I saw a lot of confusion when this announcement first came out. We'll of course keep you guys updated on if we hear anything else about Rockman X DiVE or heck, fingers crossed, Mega Man in general at Tokyo Game Show 2020, which is coming up on Friday. Stay tuned for all things Mega Man on ShadowRockZX and let us know what you think in the comments. How do you feel about Capcom sort of splitting up the Asian and Japanese version? And do you think it's a good move for Capcom of Japan to sort of take the reins for themselves for their own region? Let us know, and until next time folks, rock on, have a great day.